Okay, I'm absolutely delighted to be standing here at Gamescom with a living legend. Ed, I'm sure you've been called that far too many times in your life.
No, I don't think so. No.
How's Gamescom for you?
Exciting. You know, this is where we are introducing the first gameplay for Kano in Mortal Kombat X. And, you know, people are getting a good feeling of how it is, his 3 different variations. So there's 3 versions of Kano to play, so it's a lot of fun to see them kind of checking out the gameplay.
Excellent. Well, let's sort of break down the presentation we saw just earlier. Yes, introduction of new and classic characters. Certainly with a game series such as Mortal Kombat, you've just got such a rich history of characters to pull upon. I mean, obviously enough, you're only showing a few at the moment, and there'll be more to come. But how do you guys weigh up to decide who you want to bring on for a new game?
Well, you know, the last Mortal Kombat game that we did was kind of like a love letter to the Mortal Kombat 1, 2, and 3 days, you know. So we brought back all those characters, all the ones that people remember from when Mortal Kombat was a flat 2D game, you know, and then kind of just updated it with, you know, the more modern graphics and this game we wanted to have as much newness to it. We're really kind of, we call this Mortal Kombat X. It's kind of like the next Mortal Kombat as far as generation, the next console generation, the next characters generation. So we really wanted to introduce characters that were related to the existing Mortal Kombat characters, and so they're kind of descendants, you know. Cassie Cage is Johnny Cage's daughter, and so this game, our goal was to really introduce as many new characters to the mix as possible.
I was going to say that about having the descendants, the next generation of Mortal Kombat characters. You guys must have had a lot of fun doing like pair-ups, going, well, they would have got together and like that.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. You know, Johnny Cage and Sonya have been kind of like this, you know, on again, off again relationship. So we thought that it'd be fun to see that, and it's also fun to kind of jump ahead 25 years ahead and see some of the characters that you've known a little bit older, you know, and kind of like, you know, a little more weathered and worn down too. So it's fun to see these characters, you know, just so far ahead in the future.
Now, like you said, each character has a trio of potential movesets that they can choose at the beginning of the fight. Now, we'll just use Kano as the example. As we saw in the presentation, there was a grappler version of him, more sort of close range guy that used knives, and the guys that uses cybernetic implants. How did you guys go about deciding what fitted into each moveset, or what made the right balance for these characters?
Well, a lot of it is to make sure that they play as differently as possible. So some are longer range, some are closer, and the designers on the team, they're all kind of assigned a character, and then, you know, we all discuss the different things that they want to try, and so each character has a designer that really kind of studies it and makes it, and then we play the game and kind of get a better idea of, you know, are they different enough, and then we kind of iterate with that. But the main I guess the weight of doing that falls on the designers.
And with the characters themselves, with those sort of movesets, how's that impacted them balancing? Because like you said, now you've got triple for each character, and however many there may be, it must be a bit of a headache.
That's exactly right. We obviously the game's not done, but we are anticipating that it is going to be a huge task to balance the game out. You know, because, you know, now you have 3 versions of Scorpion going up against 3 versions of Kano, and so A of Scorpion might be a good matchup for B of Kano, but C might be a bad matchup for A of Kano, and so all those combinations and permutations of mixing up characters is going to be tough to balance, but it's also going to be, I feel, the strongest thing that's going to separate Mortal Kombat from all the other fighters. It's something that, you know, no other fighting game is doing, and it's going to add that much depth and variety in the gameplay.
Once you start a match with a particular sub moveset, are you stuck with that, or is there a possibility of changing things mid-round? Well, not mid-round, but, you know, between rounds.
No, currently when you pick it, that is the character that you play. So, you know, there's 3 versions of Kano. It's kind of like if you pick Scorpion and you lose the first round, you can't say, oh, let me pick Sub-Zero. So we're treating them as truly full characters.
Now, Mortal Kombat, perhaps more than any other fighting game series out there, has really rich backgrounds, and certainly the stages themselves have been celebrated through the years. Now, this is more like a two-part question, but to begin with, how do you guys apply the design work for the new stages? How did you start that whole process?
The first thing we go for is a look, and so our concept, our team basically kind of, just dreams up whatever they can do, and then we have just hundreds of images that we go through, and then the stuff that kind of resonates with us, like, oh, that's really cool, let's kind of start building on that. That was certainly the case with the background that we're calling the Cove, where we had these waves kind of crashing up against the bridge, and that one immediately, when we saw it, we knew that that was going to be something that was going to get in the game, and we refined that many times as far as, the visual look, and then we basically model it in 3D and try to match that visual from the concept as close as possible.
And we saw that you can now use the environments to your advantage, either to build up space between you and the opponent or actually use them to attack. Firstly, how does that operate during a match? Do you get a contextual button that will pop up on the screen? How does it operate?
Yeah, there's one of the buttons on the controller is basically dedicated to environment interaction, and so any one of them, from long jumping off of a tree or picking up a body that just flew up from the water, they're all the same button. So it's very easy to execute. Anybody can basically use the feature.
Now, we had a little demonstration of some of the fatalities. You guys have lost none of the sickness. How do you guys sleep at night?
Yeah, it's very difficult, but most of the fatalities come from fatality meetings, and you'd be surprised how many of them don't make the cut, just because it's kind of crossing a line. But they're a lot of fun. Everybody kind of stands up and acts them out, and then we get responses from people, and that's one of the more fun meetings in the company.
Saying about where the line's drawn, it seems the more gratuitous fatalities get the biggest laughs. And is that how you gauge it? That basically the more over the top, the more funny it is. So, like you said, something that's maybe not quite just sinister.
Yeah, our goal usually is just to be so crazy and so wild that nobody can take it seriously. Nobody could perceive anything like that. It's so far over the top that that people's reaction suddenly becomes laughing for some reason. Yeah.
Do you think, would you have thought all those years ago with the original Mortal Kombat you'd still be here talking about it?
No, not at all. It's funny, I was just talking to somebody saying it's been over 20 years since we did the first Mortal Kombat game, and somebody will come who's playing the game, and I'll ask them, how old are you? And they'll say, oh, I'm 19 or I'm 18 or something, and it just kind of hits me that they weren't even born when the first game came out, so I would never have guessed that at all.
Just sort of wrapping up then, personally for you, what do you think about Mortal Kombat that makes it such an enduring fighting series and why it still exists today?
I think it's a combination of a number of things. I think for the older players, it's a lot of it is nostalgia, what they remember, from when they were younger, and then seeing, much more contemporary, much more sophisticated presentation of their childhood memories. I think there's a lot of it with that. With the younger players, I think a lot of it is, these characters are represented in a story. No other fighting games represents their characters in such an elaborate, cinematic, movie-like presentation. And so I think they've just really grown attached to these characters just because the story is so deep for them. And then, of course, there's the gameplay. Once you get past all of the fatalities and the pretty graphics and all that stuff, you have a lot of fun playing the game, and everybody can sit down and have a good time with it.
Thank you very much indeed for taking the time to talk.
Thanks a lot.
Finish him!